Hello again. In a moment, we'll look at 3 sample real-life cases. Before we do, though, it's clear that the main reason most moderately wealthy individuals don't plan to avoid IHT via a personal trust is simply that they believe they'll lose access and control of their carefully accumulated nest eggs. Whether this is ISA assets or other investment or cash assets, the fear of losing control at an increasingly vulnerable age is palpable. But I'm pleased to tell you that this is not inevitable. So, in terms of protecting you and your loved ones from the financial vagaries of our uncertain futures, let's talk about some real-life benefits of the Acrobat Trust offered by WAY Trustees. Uncertain futures means both during your lifetime and, where appropriate, for any period thereafter, up to a potentially intergenerational life of 125 years for members of your family if they so choose. This is the potential time span of such trusts. The benefits of the WAY trusts are threefold. Firstly, assets leaving the estate of the settler would be free of IHT after the 7th anniversary of the trust being settled, and this is a major tax benefit. Secondly, the settler is able to guide the trustees in making funds available to his or her family, much as if the funds remained within their direct control. There is no loss of financial security for the family. Thirdly, the trust assets will be overseen by the impartial trustees both before and after the demise of the settler, regardless of any future family disputes or pressures. The trustees are able to and must act impartially to protect increasingly vulnerable settlers from complex family pressures. Of course, there's no way any of us can predict the future, either for ourselves or our increasingly complicated family lives. However, all most of us have to consider is our many friends and relations and their lives and some of the surprises they have faced, good, bad, or indifferent, and often expensive. You may well know of friends who have been married multiple times with children from more than one of those relationships, often enduring constant competitive battles over both affection and/or money. Some of our settlers face unexpected and expensive health issues or commercial disasters, either for themselves or for members of their family. We have been running hundreds of these trusts for almost 20 years, and it's not possible for me to summarise the multitude of circumstances that we, as trustees, have been faced with during that time. However, we have had not a single complaint by settlers, beneficiaries, or our National Trust auditors in that time, because we operate very carefully and with the important input of all stakeholders of each trust, both settlers and beneficiaries. We seek and take into account their ideas and preferences because it's their benefit that we're working towards. I can't describe a comprehensive set of benefits because each case is different, but what I can do is talk briefly about 3 real cases where we have acted to assist all concerned. The first case is a simple illustration of the IHT benefits because neither the settler nor his family needed any funds during the period from 2006 until now. So it's just a steer as to how one particular settler has achieved very effective IHT benefits. I won't dwell on this case, but the settler had surplus funds of £120,000, which he wisely settled into a WAY trust in June 2006. 7 years later, as that first gift into trust was becoming IHT free, he placed a further £102,000 into a second WAY trust. The most recent regular trust valuation, as at September 2021, showed that his £222,000 had grown to £416,000, and since both trusts were more than 7 years settled, it was all IHT free. His nil rate band is more than adequately used elsewhere, and so the IHT savings at that point had already reached £166,400, compared with leaving those assets within his personal estate. The second case shows just a few of the many potential trustee actions which have benefited this settler and their family. In this situation, both partners settled trusts and did take some reversion of capital before the wife sadly died. Following her death, loans from her continuing trusts were made to both her daughter and her husband. In spite of all these important issues, there is still an overall value within the four trusts of £640,000, representing a potential IHT saving of almost £256,000, more than £250,000 saved compared with leaving those assets within their personal estates. I should add here that WAY Trustees, subject to seeking advice from the widower, then registered a legal charge against the daughter's property to the value of the loan which formed her deposit. This was to avoid any family value being lost should her partner claim any equity in that property were they to subsequently separate. The third case involved an elderly lady settling 4 trusts over a period of 7 years beginning in 2004. She then died in 2021 after all trusts had survived the 7-year anniversary. Some months later, the beneficiaries, her 2 children, asked for the trusts to be distributed. Assets within the 2 Pre-Finance Act 2006 trusts were sold because those early trust assets, under the old tax rules, couldn't be passed out with holdover relief. The trustees paid capital gains tax on the gains before distributing the net proceeds. The remaining assets were distributed directly to the children with capital gains holdover relief requested, so that they could sell off their individual bequests over 1 or more years to utilise their own annual capital gains tax allowances. The proceeds over all 4 trusts were available, totaling £427,000, saving a total IHT of over £170,000 compared with leaving those assets within her personal estate. To spend more time studying these typical real-life scenarios, courtesy of WAY Trustees, please revisit this video and pause on the graphics. Or you can download further detailed information from the Acrobat Trust website.